Yo, what's going on, everyone? We are back with another reaction video. Today, we will be reacting to World War II D-Day, but the Canadian perspective. Please like, comment, subscribe, turn all post notifications on. I'm looking forward to getting right into this video. And thank you so much for all the recommendations you guys have been putting in the comments down below. Really means a lot. Autumn plans, man.
I'm Murray Brewster. CBC was there the moment Allied troops stormed the beaches of Normandy.
This is Matthew Holton of the CBC, where our assault formations are ashore, and now fighting like wildcats to hold the bridgeheads.
In the decades since, we have documented the eyewitness accounts of hundreds of veterans.
Well, I tell you, I was quite scared.
Whoa, this is rare footage from our time. Wait, this has real footage. Okay, this got real footage.
Our team at the National has spent weeks combing archives to find rarely seen images and to bring you voices now silenced by age.
I can just shut my eyes and bring back the time.
The experiences of those who were there, now restored.
Nah, they got the
Most of
beds,
us
man.
were violently ill.
In order to take you on a journey back to a critical moment when the fate of the free world hung in the balance.
D-Day, man. Okay, got the bagpipes.
It is getting harder to keep history alive.
I feel very humble being here because I seem to represent most of the old soldiers now.
There are only 9,200 Canadian Second World War and Korean War veterans left alive to tell their stories. One of them, John Preece. He fought in Europe in 1945 and feels the burden of history.
There's only a few left, and I don't feel old, and I feel like all the other guys. And now I wish all my buddies were here.
Oh, man.
But at last it started.
They were
The enormous bombing and shelling of the coast defenses. We came in from the sea that morning with a terrific volume of firepower.
D-Day, 5:10 a.m. The guns of the Royal Navy battleship HMS Warspite were the first to fire. The pivotal battle, the beginning of the end of Nazi Germany, was underway. Along the misty French coastline, 156,000 Allied soldiers prepared to rush an underwater gauntlet of mines and booby traps and to charge the German guns, fortifications, and barbed wire. They landed in daylight at 5 beaches. Hours before, Allied paratroopers had dropped behind enemy lines. The 3rd Canadian Infantry Division, 14,500 strong, went into Juno Beach with 5,000 assault troops and 2,500 in the initial waves. Those who were there remember the morning as cloudy, raw, and sullen. 6 a.m., the first wave of the Queen's Own rifle.
I remember in ROTC, when I was in high school, they showed us a gruesoming tape. It was a gruesoming tape, rated R, that, we asked to see, and they showed us it. Of course, it was between us, ROTC, between the program, wow, we didn't really speak about it outside of the class. Like, tell people what we seen in the video. We just was like, hey, we seen something similar to what that day was like. And I still think about it to this day as if that video was real life. And it makes me think, like, how it was that day, though. And then we watched the movie and we watched tapes, films on it. We read up on it.
Was piled into their assault boats. Hector Elliott, a lieutenant at the time, was with them. He spoke to CBC in 1984.
It was about a 2-mile run into the coast. And we spent those 2 hours bobbing up and down in these little boats, and we had seasick bags. So I suppose in a way it was a bit of a blessing because our minds were taken off the reality of landing on a beach by being ill, being very sick.
6:15 a.m. The assault boats begin their long, slow journey to the beach amid heavy seas. Captain Eddie Goodman of the Fort Garry Horse Regiment led a Sherman tank unit ashore. He spoke to CBC in 1994.
It was a mixed mood. Some people were exhilarated, quite a few. Some people were pensive, and thoughtful about what they were going into.
8:02 a.m., the North Shore Regiment of New Brunswick landed at Saint-Aubin-sur-Mer, while at 8:05 a.m., just to the west, A and B companies of the Queen's Own Rifles touched the beach at Bernier-sur-Mer. Lance Corporal Rolf Jackson was with B Company when the ramps went down. He spoke to CBC in 1998.
I was hit and knocked off my feet. This would be within 15 feet of leaving the landing craft.
I told you, as soon as they got to that shore, that's when it all breaks out. Yeah. I don't care how seasick you are. Keep me on a boat. I want to stay seasick for the longest time as possible. Because I know when we get to this
when I came
land,
up out of the water,
oh,
there wasn't many of the section left. The section of 10 men, 7 of them were killed before they got out of the water.
In the skies over Normandy, squadron leader James Stocky Edwards, one of Canada's highest-scoring aces, was looking down from the cockpit of his Spitfire.
The water was very rough down there. They were putting people off in when it should be shallow and deep, and they're going underwater with the tanks and troops with their gear on. But other than that, there were lots of good things, and the landing was a success. But there were a lot of suffering from it.
8:05 a.m. Canadian troops reported being under intense fire, with the Germans lobbing 16 shells a minute onto Juno Beach. Major Charles Dalton was also with the Queen's Own Rifles and landed directly in front of a concrete bunker.
Yep, he was in a
He
movie.
spoke to CBC in 1984.
Well, not the actual guy, but you know what I mean. It was in a movie.
The man on my right
You were the one.
was hit 6 or 7 times in his left arm, and I was not hit. If I had been in his place or a little closer to him, then I would have got those bullets down the center. But I did not get hit until I got to the wall. I got all the way in. But everybody to my right was a casualty one way or another.
Almost half of Dalton's company was lost coming across the beach. The Queen's Own took the highest casualties of any Canadian unit on D-Day, 143 dead and wounded. In a fit of daring, a handful of Queen's Own made their way up the beach and around behind German defenders.
That's a lot. That's a lot because you got to think of how many troops went. How many troops went versus how many came back like that.
Driving them back from the shore. It was largely the same story all along the Canadian beachhead, with the Winnipeg Rifles, the Regina Rifles, and the North Shore Regiment of New Brunswick clawing their way forward with tanks and artillery supporting them. 9 a.m. Bernier-sur-Mer was cleared. Local residents who had been sheltering in their homes during the Allied bombardment and fighting were overjoyed. They showered the Canadians with food and apple brandy, known as Calvados. Along the Orne River and the Caen Canal, Canadian paratroopers fighting with the British 6th Airborne guarded the eastern flank of the invasion against a German counterattack. Despite being scattered all over the drop zone, the 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion cut the bridges at Verivale and Robillon. Sergeant Merv Jones spoke to CBC in 1964 about the jitters of his nighttime jump.
Well, I tell you, I was quite scared. And I even asked the jump master at the specific time if we could change places. But we'd been so trained in this light business, red, don't go, green, go, that he says, oh, no, don't worry about it. We haven't got time to change you. That when the red, green light did come on, automatic, due to my training, out I went.
(11:45 a.m.) As captured in this rare color footage shot on D-Day, the 3rd Division deployed its reserves, infantry, tanks, and artillery, in a second wave. It was the job of HMCS Algonquin and other Allied warships to keep up the bombardment on surviving German fortifications, some of which didn't surrender until late afternoon. Further out in the English Channel that day, Alex Polowin aboard HMCS Huron.
Now, our job, like many people pointed out to me, well, you guys were lucky. You bombarded the coast and then you left. Nothing like that. No, we were in the Channel about 7 months. Our job was to protect the people that were going in for D-Day, their ships, their boats that were there. That was our job. To find the enemy ships that were doing that, that were coming down to do that. We did. We prevented them.
the Navy's other job that day, to evacuate the wounded back to England. By the end of D-Day, Canadian casualties totaled 1,096, of whom 381 were killed in action and 574 wounded, a far cry from the 1,800 casualties Canadian military planners had expected. Noon on D-Day. German commanders on the ground had warned beforehand the invasion would have to be crushed on the beach. Hitler, believing Normandy to be a feint, refused to release his panzer divisions until late in the day. An advisor to German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, Admiral Friedrich Rug, says by then it was too late. Rug spoke to CBC in 1984.
We knew that the battle was lost. You see,
When?
at once. As soon as a third front started forming.
5:30 p.m., the Germans counterattacked. Although bloodied, the Canadian lines held. It was a taste of what was to come. In the weeks that followed, Normandy turned into a killing ground. It took over 80 days for the Allies to break out and then sweep northeast through France, Belgium, Holland, and into Germany, helping to deliver a death blow to the Third Reich. By sunset on June 6th, Lance Corporal Rolf Jackson of the Queen's Own could look back at the beach and see the price of the victory to come.
I watched my sergeant, a Jewish lad, Freddie Harris, first out of our craft, never got out of the water. Johnny Gibson, my corporal, never got out of the water. Fred Eamon, rifleman, never got out of the water. Ted Westerby, never got out of the water. John Kirkland, Boynton, neither one of them got out of the water. Doug Reed, my number 2 on the gun, never got out of the water.
Oh, man.
Al Kennedy, we got Bren Gunner, never got out of the water. Doug Reed's brother, the two of them are buried in 6 feet apart at Benny Samir at the cemetery. These are people who are, these are only my guys, my tent.
Rest in peace to all these soldiers, man.
80 years later,
God
a final
bless the ones
salute.
that are still alive
John
today,
Priest makes sure to place his candle atop the gravestone of General Harry Criar, who led the Canadian Army during the campaign in Northwest
man.
Europe.
It is a nothing but peace. Nothing but peace.
This is too much. It takes me back to the old days. I think all these guys here. Don't forget. Oh, well, so many of them I knew. And many of them weren't much older than me, you know, in those days. We had young men.
That's sad, man. Rest in peace to all these soldiers that died on D-Day. You know, we gotta remember all the soldiers that put in the pain for us to be where we are today in life, in history. For real. Please let me know in the comments what you guys thought about this video. This video was amazing, highly recommended. Thank you so much for the recommendations. Please like, comment, subscribe, turn all post notifications on. Please spam my comment section and let me know what other videos you guys would like me to react to next. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay safe.